Alien apex predator was caged and snarling, until a human sat beside him and shared a sandwich. Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps support the channel. The containment facility on Outpost 7 was quiet except for the low, rumbling growl emanating from the reinforced cell at the end of the corridor. Inside, a massive creature paced restlessly, its scaled body reflecting the harsh overhead lights in iridescent patterns of deep blue and purple. Dr. Lauren Bennett stood before the observation window, tablet in hand, studying the being that had become the most feared entity in 3-star systems. The Veloxian, classified as an apex predator from the harsh world of Velox Prime, had been captured after a brutal raid on a Federation research vessel. The attack had left 17 dead and the ship nearly destroyed. Dr. Bennett, the Council is requesting your preliminary report, said Captain Tyler Grant, his voice tight, with barely concealed tension. They're particularly interested in your containment recommendations. Lauren nodded without taking her eyes off the creature. Tell them I'll have it ready by morning. I'm still gathering behavioral data. With all due respect, Doctor, what more do you need to know? It's killed over 40 people across multiple systems. The Council wants to know if we should execute it or send it to a maximum security facility on Tartarus. Lauren finally turned to face the captain, her expression neutral but determined. It's a sentient being, Captain. We need to understand it before making those kinds of decisions. The captain's jaw tightened. That thing isn't just any sentient being. The Galactic Federation has classified it as a Class 5 threat, the highest possible designation. It's the only one of its kind we've ever encountered, and frankly, that's one too many. Lauren returned her gaze to the creature. It had stopped pacing and was now staring directly at them, its amber eyes reflecting an unsettling intelligence. Six-limbed, standing nearly 8 feet tall with a muscular body covered in armored scales, the Veloxian possessed retractable claws that could slice through reinforced steel and jaws powerful enough to crush bone. But what made it truly dangerous was its mind, tactical, calculating, and seemingly devoid of mercy. Has anyone tried communicating with it? Lauren asked. Captain Grant laughed without humor. 3 linguists tried. One lost an arm when the containment field momentarily fluctuated. The other 2 quit the project. The translator implants seem to work. It understands us, but it refuses to respond with anything other than threats and growls. Lauren studied her notes. It's been refusing food. Good, Grant said flatly. Maybe it'll solve our problem for us. Lauren shot him a disapproving look. That's not how we do things, Captain. I'm going to try a different approach. Whatever you're thinking, Doctor, I strongly advise against it. This isn't some misunderstood creature. It's a killer. I'll take that under advisement, Lauren replied, already formulating a plan. After Captain Grant left, Lauren reviewed all available data on the Veloxian. There wasn't much. The species was largely unknown to the Federation until this particular individual began its rampage across the star systems. The attack seemed random at first glance, but Lauren suspected there was a pattern she wasn't seeing. Later that evening, after most of the station personnel had retired to their quarters, Lauren returned to the containment area. She carried with her a small container that drew curious glances from the security officers. Dr. Bennett, you're not authorized to be here during 3rd shift, said Security Officer Ethan Cole, stepping forward to block her path. Check again, Officer Cole. I've been granted 24-hour access by Federation Science Division. She displayed her clearance on her tablet. Cole frowned as he verified the authorization. That may be, Doctor, but regulations state that all interactions with the prisoner require a full security detail. I'm not going inside the cell, Lauren assured him. I just want to conduct observation during its rest cycle. Cole hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. Fine, but I'm staying right here. As you wish. Lauren approached the cell, conscious of the Veloxian's eyes tracking her every movement. Unlike earlier, it wasn't pacing or growling. Instead, it sat unnaturally still in one corner of the cell, its predatory gaze fixed on her. Initiating containment field modification for food delivery, Lauren announced, pressing a sequence on the control panel. Wait, that's not in the protocol. Cole began, but Lauren cut him off. Actually, it is. The prisoner needs to be fed, and I'm following the standard procedure for meal delivery. A small drawer-like opening appeared in the lower section of the cell barrier. Lauren placed her container in it and pressed another button to slide it through. The Veloxian didn't move toward the food. It remained perfectly still, its eyes narrowing with suspicion. Lauren then did something unexpected. She sat down on the floor in front of the cell, cross-legged, and pulled out another container identical to the one she'd sent through. "What are you doing, Doctor?" Cole asked nervously. "Having my dinner," Lauren replied calmly. She opened her container, revealing a simple sandwich. The Veloxian's nostrils flared, and for the first time, it showed something other than rage or aggression, curiosity. "You should eat," Lauren said directly to the creature, taking a bite of her own sandwich. "It's been 3 days since you've had anything." The Veloxian tilted its head slightly, studying her with those intelligent amber eyes. "It's turkey and cheese," Lauren continued conversationally. "Well, not actual Earth turkey, of course. Synthesized protein designed to taste like it. The cheese is real, though, from the station's hydroponics dairy. They keep a small herd of genetically modified goats." Officer Cole shifted uncomfortably behind her. "Doctor, I don't think it cares about your dinner story." But the Veloxian had moved slightly forward, its attention fixed on Lauren as she ate. After several minutes of watching her, it finally approached the container she'd sent through and sniffed it cautiously. "It's the same as mine," Lauren assured it. "No sedatives, no poison." As if understanding her words, the Veloxian used one of its secondary limbs to open the container and examine the sandwich inside. With surprising delicacy for a creature of its size, it picked up the food and sniffed it again before taking a tentative bite. Lauren continued eating her own meal, maintaining an air of casual normalcy despite the extraordinary circumstances. "The bread's pretty good too. Baker on level 3 has been experimenting with adding native grains from Proxima B. Gives it a nutty flavor." The Veloxian consumed the entire sandwich in 3 large bites, then focused its attention back on Lauren. For several long moments, they simply looked at each other. "My name is Lauren," she said finally. "I know you can understand me. The translator implant works both ways. You can speak to me if you want." The creature remained silent, but its posture had changed subtly. The perpetual tension in its powerful limbs seemed to have eased slightly. "I'm going to come back tomorrow," Lauren told it. "Same time. Maybe we can try something different for dinner." As she stood up to leave, the Veloxian moved closer to the barrier, studying her with those intense amber eyes. Then, just as Lauren was turning away, it spoke, its voice deep and rough, as if unused to forming words. "Why?" The single word echoed in the quiet corridor. Officer Cole took an instinctive step backward, his hand moving to his sidearm. Lauren turned back, careful to keep her expression neutral despite her excitement at this breakthrough. "Why what?" "Why share food?" the Veloxian asked, each word carefully articulated through unfamiliar vocal structures. "Because everyone deserves to eat," Lauren replied simply. "Even prisoners. Even those considered dangerous." The Veloxian seemed to consider this. "You are not afraid." It wasn't a question, but Lauren answered anyway. "I respect what you're capable of. That's different from fear." The creature made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Humans are strange." "So I've been told," Lauren smiled slightly. "I'll see you tomorrow." The Veloxian didn't respond, but it didn't return to its corner either. It remained near the barrier, watching as Lauren walked away. Back in her quarters, Lauren immediately began recording notes about the interaction. This was significant progress, the first voluntary communication from the Veloxian since its capture. She sent a brief message to the council, informing them that she would need more time before submitting her report. The next evening, Lauren returned as promised, this time with containers holding something that smelled spicy and rich. Officer Cole was again on duty, joined by another security officer named Brandon Tate, both looking distinctly uncomfortable with the situation. "Dr. Bennett, Captain Grant has expressed concerns about your approach. Officer Tate informed her. Lauren nodded. I'm sure he has. But my methods are showing results. The subject communicated yesterday. So we heard, Cole said. Doesn't mean it's not dangerous. I never said it wasn't dangerous, Lauren replied. I'm saying there might be more to the story than we know. When she approached the cell this time, the Veloxian was waiting near the barrier. It no longer paced or snarled, but stood with a stillness that suggested anticipation rather than predatory stalking. Lauren once again initiated the food delivery process and sat down in front of the cell. The Veloxian took the container immediately, examining the new offering. It's called curry, Lauren explained as she opened her own container. Spiced protein and vegetables over rice. A traditional Earth dish, though there are countless variations. The Veloxian sampled the food with what seemed like greater interest than the previous day. Your species enjoys strong flavors, it observed after a few bites. We do, Lauren agreed. Different cultures on our planet develop different taste preferences based on available ingredients and preservation needs. Spices were once very valuable trade commodities. The Veloxian ate methodically, watching Lauren all the while. When it finished, it set the container aside with surprising care. You wish to study me, it stated. Lauren nodded, seeing no point in deception. Yes, you're the first of your kind we've encountered. The first you've captured, the Veloxian corrected. Not the first you've encountered. Lauren's interest sharpened. What do you mean? The creature's amber eyes seemed to glow more intensely. Your Federation ships entered our territory 3 cycles ago. They took specimens. Living specimens. This was new information. Lauren made a mental note to investigate these claims. I wasn't aware of that. Most are not, the Veloxian replied. It is why I hunt your ships. To find what was taken. Lauren set her food aside, giving the conversation her full attention. You're looking for something specific. Someone, the Veloxian corrected, a new intensity in its voice. My offspring. Officer Tate shifted nervously behind Lauren. Doctor, I'm not sure you should be engaging with it about this. Lauren held up a hand to silence him without taking her eyes off the Veloxian. You believe the Federation took your child? I know they did. The creature replied, a low rumble entering its voice. I tracked the ship's emissions trail across 3 systems before I found it. But my offspring was not aboard. They had transferred it to another vessel. Lauren felt a chill run down her spine. If what the Veloxian was saying was true, it cast the entire situation in a different light. Its attacks weren't random acts of violence, but a parent searching for its child. What is your name? Lauren asked, realizing she'd been thinking of the being as the Veloxian all this time. The creature made a series of clicks and growls that the translator couldn't process. In your language, the closest would be. It paused, considering. Razor. Razor, Lauren repeated. I want to help you find your offspring, but I need more information. Which Federation ship first entered your territory? When exactly did this happen? You believe me? Razor seemed surprised. I believe you're telling me what you believe to be true, Lauren said carefully. I need to verify the details. Razor studied her for a long moment. The ship bore markings similar to this station. Scientific symbols. It came when the 3rd moon aligned with the gas giant in our system, approximately 16 of your months ago. Lauren was already making notes on her tablet. And you're certain they took your offspring? I witnessed it. Razor's voice took on a deeper, more menacing tone. I was hunting in the lower canyons. They used weapons that emit a paralyzing field. They took my offspring and 2 others from different family groups. I was too far away to intervene, but close enough to see. How many offspring do your kind typically have? Lauren asked, trying to understand the social structure. 1, Razor replied. We live solitary lives except during mating season and the early rearing period. My offspring was approaching independence, but was not yet fully mature. Lauren nodded, her mind racing with implications. I'm going to look into this, Razor. If what you're saying is true, then the ships you attacked were all connected to the first, Razor finished. I am not a mindless killer, Dr. Lauren. I targeted only those vessels that shared crew or communication with the original ship. I extracted information before eliminating threats. The clinical way Razor described killing Federation personnel sent another chill through Lauren, but she maintained her composure. This was a predatory species with different moral frameworks, and apparently, a very strong parental instinct. I need to report this to my superiors, Lauren said, standing up. This changes the nature of our interaction. Razor moved closer to the barrier, its massive form imposing even through the containment field. They will not believe you. Or they already know. The implication hung heavy in the air between them. Then I'll find proof, Lauren replied firmly. One way or another, I'll find the truth. Over the next several days, Lauren divided her time between sessions with Razor and deep research into Federation scientific missions from the period the Veloxian had mentioned. She discovered that a research vessel called the FSV Horizon had indeed been dispatched to a previously unexplored sector that matched the coordinates Razor had eventually provided. The Horizon's mission logs were classified at a level above Lauren's clearance, but she had colleagues who owed her favors. What she discovered disturbed her deeply. The official mission was cataloging new plant species, but there was an encrypted subdirective authorized by someone high in the Federation Science Division. When she brought her findings to Captain Grant, his reaction was not what she expected. "You need to drop this, Doctor," he said flatly, after reviewing the information on her tablet. "Drop it," Lauren echoed incredulously. "Captain, if what I've found is correct, then the Federation illegally abducted intelligent beings from their home world. Razor isn't a mindless killer. It's a parent looking for its child." Grant's expression hardened. "The Veloxian, Razor, as you call it, has killed 43 Federation citizens. Whatever its motivations, those deaths can't be overlooked." "I'm not suggesting we simply release it," Lauren argued. "But we need to acknowledge the full picture. The Federation struck first." "That's not your call to make, Doctor," Grant said sharply. "And frankly, I'm concerned about your objectivity. You seem to have developed an unhealthy rapport with the subject." Lauren stiffened. "My rapport, as you call it, has yielded more information about the Veloxians in 1 week than the Federation gathered in a year. And it's revealed potentially serious ethical violations by our own people. I'm removing you from the project," Grant announced. "Effective immediately. Your access to the containment area is revoked." "You can't do that," Lauren protested. "I'm here under the authority of the Federation Science Division, not Station Command." "Check your contract, Doctor. Station commanders have emergency authority to reassign personnel in matters of security. I've just deemed your continued interaction with the Veloxian a security risk." Lauren stared at him, realization dawning. You knew about the abducted Veloxians." Grant's expression gave nothing away. "You're dismissed, Doctor. Pack your things. There's a transport leaving for Earth tomorrow morning. You'll be on it. And what happens to Razor? That's no longer your concern." But it very much was Lauren's concern. She left Grant's office with no intention of following his orders. If she was going to be sent away tomorrow, she had less than 12 hours to act. First, she needed more information. She contacted her friend Dr. Megan Brooks in Federation Archives, sending her the encrypted file references she'd found. Megan's response came back an hour later, text only, "Can't discuss on official channels. Meet me in Hydroponics, Section G." Hydroponics was largely automated and sparsely staffed during third shift, making it an ideal meeting place. Lauren found Megan hidden among the tall stalks of genetically modified corn that provided much of the station's food supply. "What you've stumbled into is bigger than you realize," Megan said without preamble, her voice barely above a whisper. "The Veloxian research program didn't just take 3 juveniles. According to these logs, they've been operating for over 2 years and have collected at least 14 specimens." 14. Lauren was stunned. "Where are they keeping them?" "Research Station Daedalus, in the Tau Ceti system. It's officially listed as a xenobiology outpost, but it's actually a black site. Completely classified. What are they doing with them?" Megan's expression was grim. "Weapons research. The Veloxians have natural abilities that the Federation's military division wants to understand and replicate. Specifically, their incredible strength, their armored hide that can withstand energy weapons, and their accelerated healing. Lauren felt sick. That's why the council was so quick to label Razor a threat. They're covering up their own illegal operations. Exactly, Megan agreed. And there's more. The juveniles were specifically targeted because their abilities are still developing. The scientists believe they can manipulate the growth patterns to enhance certain traits. I need to tell Razor, Lauren said, already turning to leave. And then we need to expose this to the public. Megan grabbed her arm. Be careful, Lauren. The people behind this have enormous power. They've already eliminated others who've gotten too close to the truth. What do you mean, eliminated? The FSV Horizon? The ship that made first contact with the Veloxians? It supposedly was lost in an accident 6 months ago. All hands lost. But I found records indicating it was deliberately scuttled after the crew began asking too many questions about the specimens they'd transported. Lauren's mind raced. Thank you, Megan. I need to move quickly. What are you going to do? What I should have done from the beginning. Listen to the victim in all this. Lauren made her way to the containment area. Using an emergency medical override, she prepared for just such a contingency. The night shift security team was minimal, just one officer who looked surprised to see her. Dr. Bennett? I thought Captain Grant had revoked your access. Special authorization from Federation Science Division. Lauren lied smoothly, showing a falsified document on her tablet. Time-sensitive research protocol. The officer, Cole again, fortunately, seemed dubious but didn't stop her. I'll need to stay and observe. Of course, Lauren agreed, approaching Razor's cell. The Veloxian was already standing near the barrier, as if sensing her arrival. You are troubled, it observed immediately. I found information about your offspring, Lauren said without preamble, and others of your kind. Razor moved closer to the barrier, every muscle in its powerful body tensing. Tell me. Lauren glanced at Officer Cole, who was watching them closely, then back to Razor. They're being held at a research facility in another star system. The Federation has been studying your species' biological capabilities for military applications. A low, rumbling growl built in Razor's chest, causing Officer Cole to place his hand on his weapon. How many? Razor demanded. At least 14, according to the records. 3 were taken from your territory, including your offspring. Razor's amber eyes blazed with an intensity that made Lauren take an involuntary step back. You will help me free them. It wasn't a question or even a request. It was a statement of fact. I want to, Lauren said carefully, aware of Cole listening to every word. But I'm being removed from the station tomorrow. Captain Grant knows I've been investigating. Then we must act now, Razor said. Release me from this cage. Officer Cole stepped forward immediately. That's enough, Doctor. This conversation is over. Lauren turned to face him. Officer Cole, you need to listen to me. The Federation has been illegally abducting sentient beings for experimental research. We're supposed to be better than this. My orders are to maintain security, not debate ethics. Cole replied, though he looked uncomfortable. Step away from the cell, Doctor. Lauren made a split-second decision. Ethan, your brother serves on the FSV Intrepid, doesn't he? Cole frowned. What does that have to do with anything? The Intrepid is scheduled for a research transfer mission to Station Daedalus next month. Do you know what they'll be transporting? Classified materials, Cole said. Standard security protocol. They'll be transporting the results of illegal experiments on sentient beings, Lauren pressed. Your brother will be complicit in a violation of the Federation's own prime directive, non-interference with developing intelligent species. Cole's expression wavered. You can't know that. I've seen the documents, Lauren insisted. This isn't about one angry predator attacking random ships. This is about a systematic program of abduction and exploitation. And it's all being done under the Federation flag that your brother and you both serve. Cole looked from Lauren to Razor and back again, indecision clear on his face. I don't know what you're asking me to do, he said finally. I'm asking you to uphold the true values of the Federation, Lauren replied. Not the orders of those corrupting it from within. Razor spoke then, its deep voice resonating in the quiet corridor. I have killed your kind. This is truth. but only those who took or protected those who took what was mine. If your brother goes to this place, he may become such a one. I do not wish to add more deaths." Cole stared at the Veloxian, clearly stunned by this direct address. "You're saying you'd spare him? Why should I believe that?" "Because we are not so different," Razor replied. "We protect what is ours. Family, young ones, future. I have seen this same drive in humans. In her." It nodded toward Lauren. A long moment of silence stretched between them. Then Cole made his decision. "You have 15 minutes before the systems automatically log my location and activities," he said, accessing the control panel. "Whatever you're going to do it fast." The containment field shimmered and disappeared. For a terrifying moment, Lauren wondered if she'd made a catastrophic mistake. Razor stepped forward, its massive form even more imposing without the barrier between them. But the Veloxian made no aggressive move toward either human. Instead, it inclined its head slightly toward Cole in what Lauren interpreted as a gesture of respect. "Which way to the ship docks?" Razor asked. "Level 3, East Corridor," Cole replied, still keeping his hand near his weapon. "But station security will be on you the moment you leave this section." Lauren had already considered this problem. "We need a distraction, something to draw attention away from our path to the docks." "The environmental systems," Cole suggested reluctantly. "If someone were to access the main control panel in Section 4C and trigger a false atmospheric contaminant alert, it would lock down all sections except emergency evacuation routes, which happen to lead past the civilian docks." Lauren nodded. "I can do that." "You'll both be fugitives," Cole warned. "The Federation doesn't forgive this kind of action." "Some things are worth the cost," Lauren replied. She turned to Razor. "We need to move quickly. Follow me, and try to look less predatory," Razor suggested, and Lauren could have sworn there was a hint of dry humor in its voice. "Exactly," she agreed. "Keep your secondary limbs folded and your head down. Most of the night staff haven't seen you in person." As they prepared to leave, Cole stopped them with a final warning. "There's something else you should know. If you're planning to go to Station Deadless, it's in a restricted zone. You'll need clearance codes to even approach the system without being shot down." "Do you have access to such codes?" Razor asked. Cole hesitated, then pulled out his personal data chip. "My brother sent me his emergency protocols when he got the assignment. Said if anything happened to him, I should make sure his wife got his personal effects." He handed the chip to Lauren. "I hope to God I'm not making a terrible mistake." "You're making the right choice," Lauren assured him. "What will you do when we're gone?" "Report that you used an experimental sedative on me and the Veloxian escaped," Cole said grimly. "It'll buy you some time, but not much." Lauren nodded her thanks. Then she and Razor moved quickly into the corridor, beginning what would either be a mission of justice or their final moments of freedom. As they navigated the dimly lit corridors of the night cycle, Lauren was struck by how silently Razor moved despite its size. The Veloxian had adapted its gait to a smooth, efficient stride that made almost no sound on the metal flooring. "Turn left at the next junction," Lauren whispered. "We need to reach environmental control before the alarm is raised." Razor nodded, its amber eyes scanning their surroundings with predatory awareness. "There are 2 humans approaching from the connecting corridor," it warned, having apparently heard or sensed something Lauren couldn't detect. Lauren quickly pulled Razor into a maintenance alcove, pressing themselves against the wall as 2 technicians walked past, engrossed in conversation about shift rotations. Once they were gone, Lauren and Razor continued their careful progress through the station. They reached environmental control without further incident. The room was automated during night shift, with only periodic checks from engineering staff. "Keep watch," Lauren told Razor as she approached the main terminal and began accessing the atmospheric control systems. "Your plan," Razor said quietly while monitoring the corridor. "It extends beyond mere escape?" Lauren's fingers moved rapidly over the control interface. "Yes, we're going to Station Deadless to free your offspring and the others. But we're also going to gather evidence of what the Federation has been doing and broadcast it across all channels." "And after?" Lauren paused, realizing she hadn't thought that far ahead. I don't know. Get you and the other Veloxians home, I suppose. As for me, she shrugged. Face the consequences. Razor studied her with those intelligent eyes. Why risk everything for beings not your own? Because it's right, Lauren said simply, returning to her work. And because no parent should have their child taken for experiments. She finished programming the environmental alert, setting it to trigger in 5 minutes, enough time for them to get to the evacuation route. Done, she announced. Now we need to. The station-wide communication system suddenly activated, Captain Grant's voice filling the corridor. Attention, all personnel. This is a Class 1 security alert. The Veloxian prisoner has escaped containment. All non-security staff are to lock down in their current locations. Security teams deploy as per Protocol Omega. Lauren's heart sank. Cole's cover story didn't hold. We need to move now. They abandoned subtlety, running through the corridors toward the evacuation routes. The environmental alert triggered as planned, causing emergency lights to flash and automatic doors to seal throughout much of the station. But now they were racing against an active security response. As they rounded a corner near the civilian docks, they encountered a security team led by Officer Brandon Tate. The officers immediately raised their weapons. Stop right there, Dr. Bennett. Tate ordered. Step away from the alien. Lauren froze, acutely aware of Razor tensing beside her. Officer Tate, you need to listen. Hands where I can see them. Tate interrupted. The Veloxian is to lay flat on the ground immediately. Lauren could sense Razor's growing aggression. If the Veloxian attacked, the officers would open fire and people would die. Exactly what she'd been trying to prevent. Razor, she said quietly, remember why we're doing this. For your offspring. We can't help them if we don't make it off this station. For a tense moment, she thought the Veloxian would ignore her. Then, surprisingly, Razor slowly raised all 4 of its arms in a gesture of compliance. We are not your enemy, Razor told the security team. We seek only to right a wrong done to my kind. The officers exchanged uncertain glances, clearly unnerved by the Veloxian's calm speech rather than the snarling aggression they'd expected. Lauren seized the moment of hesitation. The Federation has been abducting Veloxian juveniles for illegal experimentation. We have proof. This isn't about one dangerous alien. It's about corruption at the highest levels of Federation leadership. Officer Tate's weapon didn't waver, but his expression showed a flicker of doubt. Even if that were true, Doctor, this isn't the way to address it. The proper channels are controlled by the same people responsible for the abductions, Lauren argued. Please, Brandon. You've worked alongside me for 6 months. You know I wouldn't do this without good reason. Tate seemed to be considering her words when Captain Grant's voice came through his communicator. Team 2. Report. Have you apprehended the fugitives? Tate hesitated, then made his decision. Negative, Captain. They're not in Section E7. Continuing search pattern. Lauren exhaled slowly as Tate lowered his weapon slightly. Civilian Dock 3 has a research shuttle prepped for departure tomorrow morning. Maintenance completed the pre-flight checks today. It has enough range to reach Tau Ceti. Why are you helping us? Lauren asked. Because Cole already contacted me. He showed me what you found. Tate glanced at his team. We all saw it. If the Federation is doing what those documents suggest, it goes against everything we swore to protect. Captain Grant will know you let us go, Lauren warned. We'll deal with that, Tate replied grimly. You have about 3 minutes before he realizes we're stalling. Make them count. With a grateful nod, Lauren and Razor continued toward the civilian docks. Behind them, Tate was already organizing his team to create a false trail in the opposite direction. They reached Dock 3 without further incident and found the research shuttle just as Tate had described. Lauren quickly began the launch sequence while Razor secured the door. Do you know how to pilot this vessel? Razor asked, moving to stand behind her seat. Basic training, Lauren replied. It's mostly automated for research personnel. The real challenge will be approaching station deadless without being detected. The shuttle's engines hummed to life as the dock's magnetic clamps released. Lauren guided the small vessel away from Outpost 7, accelerating as quickly as the engines would allow. They will pursue, Razor observed, watching the station recede through the viewport. Not immediately, Lawrence said. The environmental alert will keep them busy long enough for us to reach the jump point. After that, we'll be moving too fast for anything except military vessels to catch us. The shuttle cleared the station's defensive perimeter without incident, suggesting that Tate and his team were still successfully creating a diversion. Lawrence set course for the nearest jump point that would take them toward the Tau Ceti system. As the stars streaked past the viewport, Razor settled into the co-pilot's seat, its large frame barely fitting in the human-designed chair. What will happen to the humans who helped us? It asked. Lawrence sighed. Best case scenario, they'll be disciplined but allowed to continue serving. Worst case, court-martial and imprisonment. Your kind punishes those who act with honor. Our kind punishes those who break rules, Lauren corrected, even when the rules are wrong. Razor was silent for a moment, then said, On my world, honor and survival are the only laws that matter. A parent who fails to protect their offspring loses all standing in our society. Is that why you pursued the Federation ships so relentlessly? To maintain your honor? Razor's amber eyes reflected the starlight as it turned to look at her. No, I pursued them because my offspring is part of me. To lose them is to lose myself. The simple, profound statement hung in the air between them as the shuttle approached the jump point. Lauren initiated the sequence that would catapult them across light years toward their destination, and toward whatever awaited them at Station Daedalus. The first part of their journey had been successful, but Lauren knew the real challenges still lay ahead. They were two against an entire Federation black site, with only fragmented intelligence and the determination of a parent seeking their child. As the jump drive engaged and reality seemed to fold around them, Lauren found herself thinking about the sandwich she had shared with Razor just days ago. Such a simple act of connection, offering food to another being, had set in motion events that might now change the very foundation of the Federation itself. The universe blurred around them as they made the jump, carrying them toward a confrontation that would determine not just the fate of the captive Veloxians, but perhaps the moral soul of humanity among the stars. The shuttle emerged from the jump point in a remote sector of the Tau Ceti system, far enough from the main travel routes to avoid immediate detection. Lauren checked the navigation systems, orienting herself based on the limited information they had about Station Daedalus's location. We should power down non-essential systems, she told Razor. Minimal energy signature will make us harder to detect. Razor nodded, already demonstrating a surprising familiarity with the shuttle systems. The station will have perimeter sensors. We cannot approach directly. Lauren considered their options. According to the data Megan provided, supply ships dock at Daedalus every 14 days. The next one is scheduled to arrive in. She checked the chronometer, approximately 17 hours. We use it as cover, Razor suggested, the predatory intelligence evident in its amber eyes. Exactly. We'll shadow the supply vessel through the security perimeter, using its larger signature to mask our approach. The waiting was difficult. They positioned the shuttle in the shadow of a small moon in the system's outer reaches, using the natural radiation from the celestial body to further obscure their presence. Lauren used the time to study the station schematics that Megan had included in the data package, while Razor seemed to enter a state of deep meditation, conserving energy for what was to come. Your species, Lauren said after several hours of silence. How do you view humans? Before all this happened, I mean. Razor opened its eyes, considering the question. We knew of your kind only as distant visitors to nearby stars. Some of our elders believed you would eventually reach our world. There were debates about how to respond when that day came. And what did you think? I believed we should observe first. Learn your intentions. Razor's powerful shoulders rose in what Lauren now recognized as the Veloxian equivalent of a shrug. Now I know them. Lauren felt a pang of shame on behalf of her species. Not all humans would support what the Federation has done. Many would be horrified. Yet it is done in your collective name, Razor pointed out. By your leaders. Yes, Lauren acknowledged. and that's why we need to expose it. So all humans can know and decide if this is really who we want to be. When the supply ship finally appeared on their sensors, right on schedule, they carefully powered up the shuttle and began their approach. The vessel was a standard Federation cargo hauler, large enough to carry months of supplies for the research station. Engaging stealth systems, Lawrence said, activating the shuttle's limited cloaking capabilities. They weren't designed for military applications, but would help mask their approach from casual scans. They followed the cargo ship at a careful distance, matching its speed and trajectory exactly. As they approached Station Daedalus, Lauren got her first visual of the facility. Unlike the sleek, open design of most Federation outposts, Daedalus was angular and fortress-like, with minimal external viewports and multiple weapons arrays clearly visible on its surface. "That's not a research station," Lauren muttered. "It's a military installation. They prepare for war," Razor observed grimly. "Using my kind." The cargo ship transmitted its clearance codes and began docking procedures. Lauren maneuvered their shuttle into the larger vessel's sensor shadow, using the electromagnetic interference from the docking clamps to mask their approach to a secondary maintenance airlock. "Officer Cole's access codes should work for the external systems," Lauren said as she initiated the docking sequence. "But once we're inside, we'll be on borrowed time." The airlock cycled successfully, accepting the security clearance. Lauren and Razor moved quickly into the station, finding themselves in a rarely used maintenance corridor. "We need to locate the detention level," Lauren whispered, consulting the schematic on her tablet. "According to this, it should be 3 levels down in the station's core." Razor tilted its head, nostrils flaring slightly. "I can sense others of my kind. Faintly, but present." "You can smell them from here?" Lauren asked, surprised. "Not smell. Something else. A connection between those of our bloodlines." Razor gestured toward a service ladder at the end of the corridor. "That way. Down." They moved carefully through the station, avoiding the main corridors and using service passages whenever possible. The facility was heavily staffed, but most personnel were focused on their duties rather than watching for intruders. As they descended to the lower levels, the sterile, standard Federation design gave way to something more ominous. The corridors became wider, reinforced with additional security barriers. Warning signs indicated restricted areas and biohazard containment protocols. "This is wrong," Lauren whispered as they paused at a security checkpoint. "Even for a classified research facility, these are military-grade security measures." Razor growled softly. "The scent of my kind is stronger here, but altered." "Wrong." Lauren used Cole's brother's security credentials to bypass the checkpoint, and they entered a long corridor lined with observation windows. What they saw through those windows made Lauren's blood run cold. Laboratory spaces filled each room, but these weren't standard research facilities. They were testing chambers, and in several of them, Lauren could see Veloxians, smaller than Razor, presumably the juveniles that had been abducted. But they were changed. Some had additional armor plating grafted onto their natural scales. Others showed evidence of surgical modifications to their limbs or skeletal structure. "What have they done?" Lauren whispered, horrified. Razor pressed a clawed hand against one of the windows, its entire body rigid with barely contained fury. "They unmake us. Rebuild us as weapons." A junior researcher emerged from one of the labs ahead, absorbed in reading data on a tablet. She looked up, saw Lauren and Razor, and froze in shock. Before she could reach for an alarm, Razor moved with blinding speed, pinning the woman against the wall with one powerful arm. "Please," the researcher gasped, "don't kill me." "Where is the juvenile from Containment Cell 7? Razor demanded, the translator rendering its growl into words. The terrified woman glanced toward a reinforced door at the end of the corridor. "Special projects. Director's orders." Razor released her, but took her security badge. "Run. Now." The researcher didn't need to be told twice. She fled back the way she had come. "She'll raise the alarm," Lauren warned. "It doesn't matter," Razor replied. "They already know we're here." Sure enough, a moment later, alarm klaxons began to sound throughout the facility. Red emergency lighting replaced the standard illumination, and automated security announcements began to play over the speakers. "We need to move quickly," Lauren said, heading toward the reinforced door. Cole's credentials might not be enough for this level of security. But when she tried the researcher's badge they'd just acquired, the door slid open. Inside was what could only be described as an operating theater. Advanced medical equipment surrounded a central platform where a juvenile Veloxian was restrained. The young creature's scales were paler than razors, with blue-green highlights instead of purple, but the resemblance was unmistakable. The juvenile was unconscious, with various monitoring devices attached to its body. Several tubes and cables connected to ports that had been surgically implanted in its hide. Standing over it was a human in a Federation Science Division uniform with director's insignia. Dr. Nathan Brooks. Lauren identified him from the intelligence files Megan had provided. Director of Project Apex. Brooks turned, showing no surprise at their entrance. "Dr. Bennett, your arrival was predicted, though I must admit, not quite this soon." Captain Grant's containment protocols were apparently insufficient. Razor moved forward, every muscle in its powerful body tensed for attack. "Step away from my offspring." Brooks smiled thinly. "Fascinating. The parental bond appears to have survived despite the extended separation. That's valuable data." He made no move to step away from the juvenile. "You realize, of course, that you cannot leave this facility. Neither of you. What have you done to these beings?" Lauren demanded, gesturing to the unconscious juvenile. "Created the future of Federation defense," Brooks replied matter-of-factly. "The Veloxians possess physical capabilities far beyond any species we've encountered. Their natural armor can withstand energy weapons, their strength exceeds our strongest combat mechs, and their tactical intelligence is exceptional. With proper modification and conditioning, they will become the ultimate soldiers." "They're sentient beings," Lauren protested. "This violates every ethical principle the Federation stands for." Brooks shrugged. "Ethics evolved based on necessity, Doctor. The Federation faces threats you cannot imagine. The Veloxians represent our best chance at survival." Razor's patience ended. With a roar that needed no translation, it lunged toward Brooks. The director calmly pressed a control on his wrist device, and a containment field similar to the one on Outpost 7 sprang to life around the juvenile's platform, stopping Razor's charge. "Predictable," Brooks commented. "The specimens consistently prioritize offspring protection over self-preservation. A useful trait for soldiers, properly harnessed." Lauren noticed a control panel to her right. While Brooks was focused on Razor, she moved toward it, quickly assessing the systems it managed. "You won't be able to override the containment field without proper authorization," Brooks informed her without turning. "And security teams will be here momentarily." "Maybe," Lauren agreed, fingers moving across the interface. "But I don't need to override it. I just need to understand it." She had been studying Veloxian physiology for weeks now, and something about the containment field had always bothered her. It wasn't standard Federation technology. It had been specifically designed for Veloxian confinement, which meant it had weaknesses particular to its purpose. "Razor," she called. "The field is calibrated to Veloxian biological signatures. It's stronger where you exert more force against it." Razor, still pressing against the invisible barrier, immediately understood. It stopped pushing and instead placed just one claw tip against the field, applying minimal pressure. Brooks frowned, turning toward Lauren. "What are you doing?" Lauren didn't answer, continuing to analyze the field's energy distribution on the control panel. "There," she said to Razor. "The field automatically redistributes energy to points of contact. If you apply pressure at multiple points simultaneously." Razor immediately shifted strategy, using all 6 of its limbs to touch the field at widely separated points. As predicted, the containment system tried to strengthen all contact areas simultaneously, spreading its energy thin. With a flicker and a sharp crackle of discharging energy, the field collapsed. Brooks backed away, reaching for an alarm panel, but Razor was on him in an instant. The Veloxian lifted the man bodily from the floor, claws pressing against his throat. You took my offspring, Razor growled. Experimented on them. Changed them. For the greater good, Brooks gasped. They'll be the salvation of countless worlds. Not your decision to make, Razor replied, claws tightening slightly. Lauren hurried to the juvenile's platform, examining the medical equipment. Razor, I need to disconnect these carefully. Some are integrated with vital systems. Razor kept Brooks restrained but turned its attention to its offspring. Will they recover? From what has been done, Lauren worked methodically, disconnecting monitoring equipment and support systems. I don't know. The modifications are extensive, but Veloxians have remarkable healing capabilities. Given time, the juvenile's eyes fluttered open, the same amber color as Razor's but clouded with drug-induced confusion. It made a series of clicks and growls that the translator couldn't process. Razor responded with similar sounds, then said to Lauren, "We must free the others." Security alarms continued to blare throughout the facility. "We don't have much time," Lauren warned. "Security teams will have this section locked down any minute." "There's nowhere for you to go," Brooks said. "Even if you manage to release all the specimens, you'll never get off this station." Lauren smiled grimly. "That's where you're wrong, Director. We're not trying to escape." She held up her tablet, which had been recording since they entered the lab. "We're exposing everything." She activated a program that Megan had included with the intelligence files, a communications override that would broadcast their recording and all the data they'd gathered to every Federation channel, bypassing the usual security protocols. "No one will believe you," Brooks scoffed. "The Federation Council will classify everything. Deny it all." "Perhaps," Lauren acknowledged. "But enough people will see it to ask questions. And once those questions start..." She looked at the unconscious Veloxian juveniles visible through the observation windows. "This isn't who we are, Director. This isn't what the Federation stands for." Razor had managed to disconnect the final tubes from its offspring, who was now sitting upright, still disoriented but conscious. The younger Veloxian scales rippled with changing colors, a reaction to stress or emotion, Lauren guessed. "We need to release the others," Lauren said, checking the facility schematic on her tablet. "There's a central control room for the entire detention Level 1 section over." Razor nodded, then addressed Brooks again. "You will help us free them, or you will not leave this room alive." The threat wasn't empty, and Brooks knew it. "The security protocols require my biometric authorization. I can release the containment fields." They moved as a group to the control center, Razor keeping a firm grip on Brooks while supporting its still weakened offspring. They encountered no resistance along the way, which made Lauren suspicious. "This is too easy," she murmured to Razor as they entered the central control room. "They should have sent security teams by now. They're evacuating," Brooks informed them with a thin smile. "Standard protocol for a catastrophic containment breach is to seal off the affected sections and prepare them for vacuum exposure." Lauren checked the environmental controls and saw that he was right. The life support for the entire research level was being systematically shut down, section by section. "Override it," she demanded, pushing Brooks toward the main console. "I can't," he replied. "The protocol is automated and can only be canceled from the station's command center." Razor growled in frustration. "Release the containment fields. Now." Brooks placed his hand on the biometric scanner, and the detention cell controls unlocked. Lauren quickly initiated the release sequence for all cells. Throughout the adjacent laboratories, containment fields deactivated and security doors slid open. The Veloxian juveniles, in various states of modification and health, emerged cautiously from their cells. "We have perhaps 10 minutes before this section loses atmosphere," Lauren warned, checking the life support countdown. "The supply ship," Razor suggested. "It will have capacity for all." Lauren nodded. "But we need to get to the docking bay, and I'm guessing the direct routes will be blocked or guarded." Brooks, seeing an opportunity, spoke up. "There's a maintenance shaft that connects directly to the cargo processing area. From there, you can access the main docking bay. The supply ship will still be offloading." Lauren regarded him suspiciously. "Why help us now?" "Because I'm a pragmatist, Doctor. My research has been exposed. This facility is compromised, but I, personally, would prefer to survive. Razor tightened its grip on the man. Lead us. But know that if this is deception, you will be the first to die. Brooks guided them to a maintenance access panel hidden behind a storage unit. It opened to reveal a narrow shaft that would be tight for the adult Veloxians, but navigable. Your offspring first, Lauren suggested to Razor. Then the others. You and I will go last with the director. The juvenile Veloxians, 14 in total, moved through the shaft with surprising coordination despite their weakened condition. Razor's offspring led the way, seemingly growing stronger with each passing minute. As the last of the juveniles entered the shaft, Razor turned to Brooks. You will go next. Remember, I can move faster than you. There is no escape. Brooks entered the shaft, followed by Razor. Lauren prepared to enter last, but paused to complete the data transmission from her tablet. The broadcast was going out now across all Federation channels. Everything they discovered about Project Apex, including visual evidence of the modified Veloxians and Brooks' own damning admissions. The maintenance shaft was long and cramped, requiring them to move in single file through the narrow space. After several minutes of uncomfortable crawling, they reached an exit panel that opened into the cargo processing area, just as Brooks had promised. The large chamber was filled with containers from the supply ship, but surprisingly empty of personnel. The evacuation order must have cleared this area as well. The docking bay is through those doors. Brooks indicated a set of heavy cargo doors on the far side of the room. Lauren checked her tablet. Life support is already failing in the research level. We have maybe 5 minutes before they vent this section too. The group moved quickly toward the docking bay doors. The juvenile Veloxians stayed close together, with Razor's offspring taking a protective position at the front of the group. They were halfway across the cargo area when security doors suddenly slammed down, blocking their path to the docking bay. Emergency lights flashed, and a new alarm sounded. Containment protocol activated, an automated voice announced. Preparing for sterilization procedure. Brooks smiled coldly. Did you really think it would be that easy, Doctor? This facility has safeguards within safeguards. Before Razor could react, Brooks pressed a hidden control on his wrist device. A localized stun field activated, temporarily immobilizing the Veloxians within range. Only Lauren, standing slightly apart while checking her tablet, was unaffected. The Veloxians are too valuable to lose, Brooks explained as security personnel in environmental suits began to enter through side doors. They'll be recaptured. You, however, are expendable. Lauren backed away, frantically looking for options. The stun field seemed to be centered on Brooks' position, affecting a radius of about 10 meters. The juvenile Veloxians were completely immobilized, while Razor was fighting against the effect, its powerful muscles straining against the invisible force. The security team, 6 heavily armed officers in protective gear, approached cautiously, weapons trained on the group. Secure the specimens, Brooks ordered. Terminate Dr. Bennett. Lauren had only seconds to act. She looked at her tablet, still connected to the station's systems through the security override Megan had provided. The life support systems were networked with the security protocols, including the localized stun field generator. With a few quick commands, she rerouted emergency power from the field generator to the cargo bay doors. The stun field flickered and died just as the massive doors began to slide open. Razor, suddenly free from the immobilizing force, roared and launched itself at the nearest security officer. The other Veloxians, particularly the juveniles, recovered more slowly, still disoriented from their time in captivity. Get to the ship, Lauren shouted, pointing toward the docking bay now visible through the opening doors. The security team opened fire, but their weapons were set to stun, likely under orders to avoid damaging the valuable specimens. Razor moved with incredible speed, disarming 2 officers before they could adjust their weapons. The juvenile Veloxians began moving toward the docking bay, with Razor's offspring taking the lead despite its weakened condition. Lauren followed, trying to stay behind cover as energy pulses from the security team's weapons crisscrossed the cargo area. Brooks was attempting to retreat through a side exit when Razor caught him, lifting the man bodily off the ground. "You have lost," Razor told him. "Your experiments are exposed. Your specimens are free." "This changes nothing," Brooks gasped. "The Federation needs what the Veloxians can provide. They'll start again somewhere else, more secretly next time." "Perhaps," Razor acknowledged. "But you will not be part of it." Lauren called out from the docking bay entrance. "Razor, we need to go now? The atmospheric venting has started." Indeed, warning klaxons were sounding throughout the cargo area, and the artificial gravity was fluctuating, a precursor to full decompression. Razor looked at Brooks for one long moment, then made its decision. Instead of killing the man, it hurled him toward the security team, creating confusion that allowed Razor to sprint toward the docking bay. The supply ship was still docked, its crew apparently evacuated during the security alert. The juvenile Veloxians were already boarding under the guidance of Razor's offspring, who seemed to have taken a leadership role among them. Lauren and Razor were the last to board, sealing the airlock just as the cargo area began to decompress. Through the viewport, they could see equipment and containers being pulled toward the opening emergency vents. "Can you pilot this vessel?" Razor asked as they made their way to the bridge. "It's a standard Federation design," Lauren replied. "Basic controls are the same as our shuttle, just scaled up." The ship's systems responded to Lauren's commands, initiating the launch sequence. As the docking clamps released, station weapons came online, targeting the escaping vessel. "They're going to fire on us," Lauren warned, pushing the engines to maximum as they pulled away from the station. "No," Razor disagreed, pointing to the communications display. "They cannot." The screen showed multiple incoming transmissions from Federation vessels throughout the sector, all responding to the broadcast Lauren had initiated. One message in particular stood out, a priority communication from Federation headquarters ordering Station Daedalus to stand down and prepare for inspection. "It worked," Lauren breathed. They saw the evidence. As they cleared the station's immediate defensive perimeter, more messages flooded in. Federation citizens across dozens of worlds were responding to the broadcast with outrage and demands for accountability. The secret project had been exposed to the light of public scrutiny, exactly as Lauren had hoped. Razor moved to check on the juvenile Veloxians, who had gathered in the ship's cargo hold. They were in various states of health, all bearing the marks of surgical modification, but they were alive and free. Razor's offspring approached as Lauren entered the hold. The young Veloxian scales had regained some of their natural luster, the blue-green highlights more pronounced. "Thank you," Razor said simply, standing beside its child. "For your help. For your food." Lauren smiled at the reference to that first shared sandwich, which now seemed a lifetime ago. "We need to get all of you home. Back to Velox Prime." "Yes," Razor agreed. "But first, there is something else we must do." This something else turned out to be a detour to a Federation outpost in a neighboring system, where Lauren formally presented the evidence of Project Apex to Federation authorities. The presence of the Veloxians themselves, living proof of the experimentation, made the case impossible to dismiss or classify away. An emergency session of the Federation Council was convened, where Lauren testified alongside several other whistleblowers who had come forward after seeing her broadcast. Director Brooks and several high-ranking Federation officials were detained pending investigation. 3 weeks later, aboard a Federation diplomatic vessel, Lauren stood on the bridge as they approached Velox Prime. The planet was striking, a world of deep canyons and towering rock formations, bathed in the amber light of its star. "It is not a gentle world," Razor observed, standing beside her. "But it is ours." The juvenile Veloxians had made remarkable recoveries. Their natural healing abilities had begun to reverse some of the modifications, though some changes would be permanent. Razor's offspring, now standing nearly as tall as its parent, had become the unquestioned leader of the group. "What will happen to them?" Lauren asked. "Will your society accept them, after what's been done?" "They will be honored," Razor replied. They have endured and survived. This is respected among our kind. The Federation diplomatic team was nervous about making first official contact with the Veloxians, especially given the circumstances. But Lauren had insisted on doing things properly this time. Open communication, respect for sovereignty, and formal apologies for the abductions. As they entered orbit and prepared to shuttle down to the surface, Lauren found herself reflecting on how it had all begun. A simple act of kindness, sharing food with a caged predator everyone else feared, had cascaded into events that would reshape relations between two species. "Your Federation," Razor said as they boarded the shuttle to the surface, "it has potential. Despite its flaws. We make mistakes," Lauren acknowledged. "Sometimes terrible ones. But we can learn from them. Become better." "As can we all," Razor agreed. The shuttle landed in a vast canyon where hundreds of Veloxians had gathered to witness the return of their young and the first official contact with humanity. As the doors opened and Razor stepped out with its offspring, a sound rose from the assembled Veloxians, a harmonious rumbling that Lauren's translator couldn't process but that she somehow understood was a welcome. Lauren followed, the first human to officially set foot on Velox Prime. She carried with her a simple package, which she presented to the Veloxian who appeared to be the community's elder. "A token of friendship," she explained as the elder unwrapped the package to reveal a selection of foods from various Federation worlds, including, of course, sandwiches. The elder studied the offering, then gestured to the feast the Veloxians had prepared on massive stone tables nearby. An invitation to share. And so, under the amber sky of Velox Prime, humans and Veloxians sat together and shared a meal, the proper beginning to what would prove to be a complex but ultimately beneficial relationship between their species. Years later, when asked about her role in these historic events, Lauren Bennett would always give the same simple answer. "I just offered a sandwich to someone who was hungry." Everything else followed from that. The Federation changed its policies on first contact and research protocols. The Veloxians eventually became valued allies, sharing their knowledge while maintaining their independence. The juveniles who had been experimented on became important bridges between the two cultures, their unique perspective helping to prevent future misunderstandings. And on Federation outposts throughout the galaxy, a new tradition emerged among xenobiologists and first contact specialists. When dealing with new species, no matter how intimidating or different they might appear, the first gesture was always the same, an offer to share food. A simple sandwich, it turned out, could sometimes change the course of interstellar relations. As for Razor, the once feared monster of three-star systems, it became an respected ambassador between its people and the Federation, known for its wisdom and measured judgment, qualities that had always been there, waiting for someone to look past the snarls and see the intelligence behind those amber eyes. Lauren often thought about that first moment, looking at a caged apex predator and choosing to sit down and share her meal rather than run away in fear. It had been a small choice, an instinctive human gesture of connection. But sometimes, she reflected, the smallest choices created the largest ripples across the cosmos. The treaty between the Federation and Velox Prime would eventually become a model for interspecies cooperation, referenced by diplomats for generations to come. But few remembered that it all began with a cage, a predator, and a human who chose to share her sandwich. Sometimes, Lauren would tell her students years later when she became a professor of xenodiplomatic relations, "The most powerful tool we have isn't our technology or our weapons or even our words. It's our willingness to see past our fear and recognize the individual on the other side. To share what we have, even when it seems risky. To offer connection when others would build walls." On the anniversary of first contact, Lauren would return to Velox Prime to visit Razor and its offspring, now fully grown and leading their own family group. They would share a meal together, sometimes Federation cuisine, sometimes Veloxian, always prepared with care and shared with respect. "Who would have thought," Razor once commented during one of these visits, "that such different beings could find common ground?" "I did," Lauren replied with a smile. "The moment you took that first sandwich." And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also, leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story.